Hello, trainers! Professor Palm here, and we're about to enter the month of October, my favorite month of all time. I love Halloween, but most of all, October is the month where everything changes. The heat goes down, the leaves start changing colors and fall off the trees, and most of all, so does our wardrobe change. A lot of us are soon going to start be wearing very long sleeve clothes, like this one right here. I really loved having different clothing on, as well as a different fashion for a different season. But one thing that always fascinates me about every month changing is the moon. I've always been fascinated over the moon as a kid. Other than the moon being so incredible of the sky, another thing I've always been fascinated with is the constellations in the starry sky. It's just so cool how stars can be so close to each other and form a pattern. There are so many constellations to look at in the sky. When I had a telescope as a kid, I used to go stargazing, and once in a while, I'd go moon gazing, as I really liked seeing the moon being waxed, and I also love watching a lunar eclipse. It's one of the most incredible phenomenons to watch at night. Shame that doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, oh boy, seeing the moon is one sight to behold. Other than the moon and the stars being such a beautiful sight, there are some Pokemon that get their power from the moon. Unlimited power! And those Pokemon are none other than Cleffa, Clefairy, and of course, Clefable. These Pokemon are Moon Fairies, and not only does the moon give them their power, but they have incredible things that happen to them under the moon, as well as beautiful traditions. Just like the Sailor Scout of the Moon, Usagi Tsukino, these Pokemon have the power of the moon, but their magic is granted when the power of the moon shines upon them, and they even have the power to grant wishes. That's right. With these three Pokemon, your wishes are bound to come true. Just like a genie, but then again, they are fairies. I guess you could say that they're fairy godparents. Well, moon fairy godparents. Just make sure that Mr. Denzel Crocker isn't around when you have these fairies around you. I might just be a Pokemon professor, but today I think I'm going to become an astronomer. And come with me, everybody, as we journey through the cosmos and go beyond the stars. We're going to learn all about Clefairy, Cleffa, and Clefable and what makes them so powerful. We're even going to learn the power of the moon, which they have at the palm of their hands. Before we begin, I want to give a very special thanks to my friend, the Funky Meowster. You love these Pokemon, and I hope that you really love learning all about them. This video is dedicated to you, and I hope that it's stellar for you to watch. But you're not the only one I'm thanking today. HTTP Koopa, I want to give you a very special thanks for my fairy type jersey. If you dig this shirt, this is actually the jersey worn by Gym Leader Bede when you fight him at the Champion Cup. Since we're talking about fairy types today, I thought this would be the perfect shirt to wear. You may have also seen me unbox this in my last package video, and I had a great time getting it. Oh, and if you really think that this is a great shirt, then please, by all means, buy it. Of course, I'm not sponsored by HTTP Koopa, but I want to give good business to a very talented artist. You can find him on Etsy. Oh, and hey, why would you buy yourself a silly stock image t-shirt when you can actually get something that looks like it came from the real Kanto Region? I have to say, looking at this incredible jersey, I really feel like I was there and I witnessed that battle. Today, I'm going to become a moon man, and we're going to go right to the moon and talk all about this line and if it's from the moon or is it really an alien or a moon fairy. I guess it's for us to learn about. So, where better to start than the little baby shooting star itself? Cleffa! Cleffa the star-shaped Pokemon is based off of stars, just like its name suggests. However, this Pokemon is also based off of fairies and pixies, as it's a small, playful, and magical creature. However, it can also be based off of the mythical creature, the Moon Rabbit, as this Pokemon has a celestial past, just like that creature. Because of this Pokemon's unique star-shaped design, a lot of people theorize that Cleffa does not come from Earth, that instead it comes from space, mainly the moon. The main reason a lot of people came up with this theory is because when a lot of meteorites, or as we would call them shooting stars, would strike the Earth, Cleffa were usually found in the area very close by it. If that's true, that's impressive, so we have ourselves a little alien Pokemon with us today. Cleffa is a nocturnal creature, as it's very active during the nighttime, but these Pokemon love starry nights, so yes, I think they would love Vincent van Gogh's painting. During nights of shooting stars, a group of Cleffa can be found dancing in a ring, which some people call the Dance of the Stars. Watching a group of Cleffa dance is said to be a good omen that good luck follows you after witnessing this beautiful phenomenon. The Dance of the Stars, or as some people call it, the Starlight dance of a Cleffa, can last the entire night. These Pokemon won't stop dancing until the crack of dawn. They'll go back to sleep, but what these Pokemon like to do is replenish their thirst with fresh morning dew. After all that dancing can be very exhausting. I have to say though, why these Pokemon dance to this day is still unknown. Maybe it's a good luck dance. Maybe it's something that they used to do on the moon. Until we have an answer, it's all up to speculation. On nights when the moon is full or the sky is full of stars, Cleffa will gaze intently at the sky, as if it was thinking of its home being on the moon or beyond the stars. This Pokemon also is very handy at pointing out constellations. Some people even believe that some Clefairy created those constellations with the help of Clefable and Cleffa. Cleffa love the nighttime as well as the moon and the stars so much that anything that reminds it of that will make it very happy. In the Alola region, these Pokemon are very fond of Minior. After all, since some people believe they came from shooting stars as well as meteorites, that's the perfect Pokemon for them. But they also really like the Pokemon Staryu and Starmine. Also, if they ever see the Pokemon Lunatone, Cleffa go nuts. Cleffa made its anime debut in the Pokemon Master Quest episode, Wish Upon a Star Shape, when it fell from a spaceship that belonged to the kleptomaniac Clefairy from the original series. Later on, this Pokemon was returned to that Clefairy and its spaceship by Ash and his friends. As you all know in the core series games, Cleffa is the baby of the line, but did you know this Pokemon has something really great that can happen? Well, it's very rare, like a 5% chance. There's a possibility that if you find a wild Cleffa, it could be holding a Moonstone. Yep, you already have yourself a free Moonstone. So all you have to do is evolve it and then just use the Moonstone on it. But if there's another Pokemon that you really love that evolves using a Moonstone, well, you're in luck because Cleffa is a great helper. After all, since this Pokemon loves the moon, it'll always grab anything that reminds it of it. Along with Igglybuff and Moriel, Cleffa has the lowest speed stat of all Fairy-type Pokemon. But then again, that should be expected, as after all, this is a baby Pokemon, and babies aren't always the strongest Pokemon, so sometimes their speed, as well as other stats, aren't the highest. Aww, just look at our little Starlight right there. It's such a precious little face. If you want to evolve this Pokemon, you just have to give it a lot of friendship, and definitely taking it out under the moon and giving it something that reminds it of the moon as well as the stars can be very helpful. But despite popular belief, Cleffa can evolve at any time, either day or night, not just the nighttime. But if you want to see this Pokemon with its true fairy power, I gotta say, I think it's time that we evolve our little Cleffa into Clefairy. And when looking at this cute little Moon Fairy, I believe our wishes are about to come true. Clefairy, the fairy Pokemon, is based off of fairies as well as pixies, as it's a magical and very playful creature. And it wasn't until Generation 6 that this Pokemon finally became a fairy typing, becoming the true typing it always was meant to be. If you look on the back of a Clefairy, you'll notice that this Pokemon has two cute pixie wings. These wings aren't just for show, as they absorb moonlight and give Clefairy the magic to fly. Yep, this Pokemon can float in the air without flapping either of its wings. But sadly, this Pokemon doesn't have the ability of levitate, nor is it a dual typing being a fairy flying. So yeah, it's a bit of an anime exclusive ability only. Strangely enough, it doesn't even have the hidden ability of levitate, which really would come in handy, would make a lot of sense. But then again, it is kind of cool that this Pokemon can fly using its own moonlight magic. Does anyone remember the slot machines in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum when a Clefairy would come out of the Pokeball and start dancing? Well, that's not entirely fictional, as Clefairy like to come out in groups under the full moon and start dancing. Some people call it the Dance of the Moonlight, or even Dance of the Moon. Doing this gives this Pokemon a lot of happiness, but if anybody witnesses it, it also brings good luck and happiness as well. Sometimes doing this dance allows Clefairy to summon forth the lunar Pokemon itself, Cresselia. Just like with its previous evolution in Cleffa, these Pokemon dance the entire night. When dawn arrives, Clefairy will return to their quiet mountain retreats and go to sleep until the moon has risen once again. If you're a fan of this Pokemon's dancing, you're not alone, as many trainers and Pokemon alike love seeing a Clefairy dance. This Pokemon also is a very beautiful Moon Fairy, which makes it very popular. Sadly, with its popularity, Clefairy are very hard to find, as these Pokemon are nocturnal creatures and like to live in the darkness. Mainly, they make their home in Mount Moon, as they like to live in caves. But if you manage to find one, definitely catch it, because it's a sign of good luck. Clefairy have an obsession with anything that makes them think of the moon, as these Pokemon love thinking of where they came from. That's right, Clefairy are from the moon, but it's not well known if they are extraterrestrials from the moon or they're just moon fairies. I think it'd be better for you to decide, but they definitely join other Pokemon that are not of Earth, including Elgium, Behem, Lunatone, Solrock, and of course Deoxys, as all those Pokemon came from space. Maybe this Pokemon knows more about space than it will ever tell us. If that's the case, who knows what's beyond the stars? I lean more towards Clefairy being a fairy from the moon rather than being an alien of the moon, mainly because of its name as well as its typing and its appearance. But if it is an alien, that's great as well. Oh, did you know that Clefairy's true power is revealed under a shining moon? That's right, since this Pokemon draws its power from the moonlight, under a shining full moon, this Pokemon is rumored to be able to use its fairy powers and grant wishes. That's right, with this Pokemon, all your dreams can come true. So, if you encounter this Pokemon and it grants you a wish, what would you wish for? Then again, always be careful what you wish for. In the wild, Clefairy are very peaceful Pokemon, and they really don't like to fight others, as they prefer to live in peace with other Clefairy and other Pokemon deep in the mountains. But when push comes to shove, Clefairy still are pretty decent fighters, mainly because of their signature move, Metronome. If you don't know what that move does, all Clefairy has to do is just waggle its finger, and any move it can think of instantly becomes the move it will use. Clefairy made its anime debut in the Pokemon Indigo League episode Clefairy Tales, where Ash and his friends first encountered it after their spaceship crash-landed near Viridian City. In the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime, Lily took care of her mother Lucamine's Clefairy and loved it the way it was, as she felt it was cute that way and Lucamine thought it didn't make sense, while Lily said it was a perfectly reasonable argument. In the core series games, Clefairy is the signature Pokemon of game designer Koji Nishiro in Pokemon Black and White 2. In his first battle, Clefairy is the only Pokemon he has on his team. In real life, Koji Nishiro, the game designer of Game Freak's Pokemon games, has claimed on many occasions Clefairy is his favorite Pokemon of all time. I gotta say, this is a great Pokemon, so kudos to you, man. Here's a little trivia for you. Before Clefairy was given the name Clefairy, it was originally going to be named Aria, and Fairy type was going to be a typing in the beginning, but it got taken out and was finally brought back in Generation 6. Did you also know that before Pikachu was the face of the whole franchise, it was originally going to be Clefairy? It does make you wonder what the franchise would have looked like with Clefairy being the mascot, as well as Ash Ketchum's signature Pokemon. I guess we'll always have our minds to imagine what the world could be like with Clefairy being the face of the entire franchise. Or maybe we could capture ourselves Palkia and go to a dimension where that actually happened. I wonder if Pokemon would be still as successful as it is, or even more successful. Then again, it also could have flopped. Let's just be happy with what we have right now. But if you're curious, maybe catch yourself Palkia and see what the world would look like. Let me know, okay? While looking at this Pokemon up close, I can see why it's a very popular Pokemon and why it's such a beautiful Pokemon, as well as Koji Nishido's favorite Pokemon of all time. It definitely is a major cutie, but let's see this thing get even cuter and even see its true power of the moon. So let's get ourselves a Moonstone and get ready to evolve our little fairy Pokemon into Clefable. And guess what? Now our wishes are granted. Clefable, the fairy Pokemon, is based off of fairies and pixies, just like the rest of its line, but because of its celestial origins, its star-shaped body, and very interesting appearance, some people see it as an alien, or see it as a star-shaped Pokemon. If you turn Clefable around, you'll notice that this Pokemon has a giant pair of fairy wings. While its counterpart in previous evolution Clefairy had small pixie wings, Clefable has very large ones. This Pokemon can also fly, but Clefable just prefers to jump really high, and it also likes to show off sometimes. This Pokemon likes to walk across the water, but mainly it's doing it because of the moonlight that it stores in its wings, giving it its floating ability. Despite Clefable's big smile, beautiful pink skin, and its adorable huggable appearance, Clefable are very shy Pokemon and are rarely seen in the wild by humans and Pokemon alike, as these Pokemon prefer to keep to themselves. They really like to be peaceful, and they really don't like being disturbed, especially during the day, as these creatures are nocturnal. The main reason why Clefable is a very shy Pokemon is because of its ears. If you look very closely, you'll see those big ears, and they have excellent hearing, but they're also very sensitive, as this Pokemon doesn't like being in very loud places, like in the city or maybe being in a rock concert. Ironically, though, this Pokemon can learn the move Sing. Just like the character from Disney's Encanto, Dolores Madrigal, Clefable has an acute sense of hearing, as this Pokemon can hear very far. That's right, it can hear a pin drop from over 1.5 miles away. Since this Pokemon's very shy, and it also hears footsteps from that far, it never knows if it's going to meet anyone who's kind, or meet people that are very violent. That's another reason why this Pokemon hides, is it doesn't usually know what's coming, and it oftentimes is scared of the X unknown factor. Clefable like to come out at night and look at the constellations under a starry sky. They also enjoy looking at the moon. Some Clefable really like singing under the full moon, and some of them even go to deserted lakes during the night and bathe under the moonlight. This is a bit of a ritual for them, as it's called moonbathing. While this Pokemon is super rare, it's considered a good luck sign if you catch one of them. According to a legend in Alola, a couple who see a pair of Clefable singing and flying during the full moon can look forward to a happy marriage. And just like the legend of Clefairy, under a full moon, Clefable's true power is revealed, and it can grant wishes as well as bring happiness to those who really need it. That's right, if anyone's facing depression, just find this Pokemon under the night sky. Not only will your happiness come, but so will your wishes. Just like the other parts of its evolutionary line with Cleffa and Clefairy, Clefable is obsessed with anything that makes it think of the moon, as well as nighttime and the stars. Most of the time, these Pokemon have a very different tradition, other than a dancing tradition with others. When the moon is full, or there's a lot of shooting stars in the sky, Clefable and other Clefable will take stones and put them in a pattern of the crescent moon. Why they do this is unknown, but some people claim that doing this shows its true power. So in the morning, if you see this incredible stone pattern on the grass, you'll know Clefable was close by. Clefable made its anime debut in the Pokemon Indigo League episode, Clefairy and the Moonstone, where Team Rocket stole a bunch of Moonstones, only for their plan to backfire, causing the Moonstones to evolve all the Clefairy into Clefable. In the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime, Clefable was also the Pokemon that drove a major wedge between the mother and daughter duo, Lusamine and Lily. The reason why this happened was Lusamine evolved her Clefairy into a Clefable without Lily's permission. In the games, Clefable is the signature Pokemon of game designer Koji Nishiro in Black and White 2 when you rematch him, as well as Trainer Green in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. This Pokemon's signature move, Metronome, really comes in handy, as you never know what move it's going to use. All it has to do is waggle its finger, and poof! A move that you will never expect will happen. Before Generation 6, Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa were all normal-type Pokemon, so they all shared one major weakness. And that weakness that they all shared together was none other than Fighting-type, as, after all, these Pokemon were normal-type. Since they were normal-type, Fighting is the only weakness to normal, but as of Generation 6, these Pokemon finally achieved what they deserved. They became Fairy-type Pokemon, and now they have many different weaknesses as well as strengths. From Generation 6 and onward, being pure Fairy-type, Clefariy, Clefable, and Cleffa all have the same weaknesses. Being that they're Fairy-type, these Pokemon are weak to Poison and Steel. Yep, becoming Fairy-type gave them a little bit of a downgrade as now they have 2 weaknesses, but Fairy-type also added a lot of upgrades as before, since these Pokemon were just normal-type, they had no strengths. So, let's look at what makes these Pokemon very strong. Now that Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa are pure Fairy-type, they now have a bit of an edge in a fight. So, when these Pokemon have to fight, they have moves being Fairy-type that are tough against Dark, Fighting, which used to be their major weakness, but as of getting that Fairy typing, now it's their strength. And they also have one more strength. And that last strength, of course, is Dragon. But since these Pokemon have been upgraded to Fairy typing, Dragon can't hurt them. That's right. Clefairy, Clefable, and Cleffa are all immune to Dragon attacks. Just because these Pokemon became Fairy-type doesn't mean they weren't immune to anything, because back in the old days when Cleffa, Clefable, and Clefairy were all normal-typing, they were all immune to Ghost-type attacks. While this was great for them, they also couldn't really hit any Ghost-type moves, as normal moves are unaffected by Ghost-types. If Clefable, Clefairy, and Cleffa did come from the moon, it makes you wonder why they came to Earth out of any other planet. Who knows? Maybe they live on other planets as well, but we don't know. I guess being on the moon would be a lot of fun as there's no gravity, it's very nice and quiet there, and it's always beautiful to look at the sky and see the stars. I definitely see why they like doing this on Earth. It makes them think of their home, but most of all, it is interesting to see how different worlds can be. It is kind of sad that these Pokemon were always seen as fairy Pokemon, but they had to wait till Generation 6 in 2013 to officially become fairy-type Pokemon. But I have to say, it was well worth the wait. Fairy typing is a great typing, and it suits them perfectly. After all, I don't think that the normal was the best typing for them, as fairy type didn't exist, but now that it is, I can't see them as anything else. But if they do become any other regional variant, do you think a dark and fairy type would be a good typing for them? The reason why, since they come from the moon. Or do you think a fairy psychic type would be better? I don't know. What would you think? Witnessing a dance of a Cleffa, a Clefairy, and a Clefable always brings good luck. But did you know that to this day, there is no specified answer of why this happens? Yeah, these Pokemon have been on the Earth for Arceus knows how long, and they keep doing this dancing. The fact it doesn't have an answer is amazing. I have to say, I do hope that we may get an answer one day, but even if we don't, I think sometimes things are better left a mystery and interpretation. So what's your year been like? Has it been hard? Has it been a sad one? Have you lost people that you love recently or a good friend? Well, these Pokemon have the power to bring happiness, and they also have the power to grant wishes. What you wish for, maybe just be careful with it. But then again, I think that having a wish maker as well as having happiness in your life is what we all need. And when you need it most of all, behold the power of the shining moon. David Bowie once talked about a being of the stars, aka the Starman, with a power so incredible it could blow our minds. Well, you should have been talking about these 3 Moon Fairies, because these Pokemon blew my mind with their incredible cosmic powers. I had no idea how amazing these Moon Fairies could be, and that power they have is unlike anything else. There are plenty of other fairy-type Pokemon, but none as incredible as this line, as they get their power from the shining moon. Oh, and what do you think about them having regional variants? I know that we haven't had a lot of regional variants confirmed yet, but if they did have some, What do you think a good typing of them would be? Also, did you learn anything new about the Clefairy line, or did you know everything that I said? So, if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you want to answer any of the questions, you want me to cover another Pokemon, or you want me to talk about something that's upcoming, please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. Please feel free to recommend me to any trainer out there. I want to make everyone happy and I want to teach everyone as much as I can. I also want to tell everyone else that next month we're covering Ghost and Dark type for the month of October. It's the spooky season. Last thing I want to say to the Funky Meowster, I hope that Starless Night comes out soon. I'm so excited to play it. The game sounds incredible. Please check them out and make sure you ask lots of questions because I think you'll enjoy the game as much as I do. Thanks for watching. Palm out!